another episode of Rev It Up with Earl Garnet. Today on the show, we got my favorite kind of car guy. Kevin here, he builds cars, races them, and modifies them. Kevin is the one solely responsible for getting me back into the hobby in 2012. After taking a ride in this scary Mustang, I was hooked. Pretty much made him the enemy of my wife, however, because now we don't have any more money. Kevin, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Earl.
So, Kevin, tell us what we got here.
Well, it's a 2007 GT. I bought it kind of on the spur of the moment. We were on a trip to Seattle and saw the car and knew I had to have it, so came home with it.
How long did it stay stock for?
It had been a little bit modified by the dealer, so they painted on the stripes and put the Shelby wheels on it, but it didn't stay stock motor for very long after that. Well, I bought the car in August. By spring, I had a Whipple on the stock motor and had fun with that for a summer, and then blew up the clutch, you know, as Whipples are prone to do on stock clutch. So thought, well, you know, maybe should tear the motor out over the winter and do some work on it. So I put a forged stroker short block in it.
Nice.
And ported heads and big cams and up the boost, put a 10 rib blower drive on it, and then started chasing the horsepower around the car. So twin disc clutch, 6-speed trans, built the rear end, did all the suspension, pretty much drove it that way for another year, and then started on some of the cosmetic mods, did a bunch of interior work, mirrors, just, you know, kind of finishing it up.
Yeah, well, it's an absolutely beautiful car. What kind of horsepower numbers are you getting out of this and torque?
It's about 630 to the wheels.
Oh, wow.
About 750-ish out of the motor. So it moves right along.
It really does. When I went for a ride in this for the very first time, I honestly feared for my life because I hadn't driven in a car this fast my entire life, and cars got a lot faster from the time that I was into them to taking a ride in this. So this is one hell of a car. What's the color called on this car, Kevin?
This is Vista Blue.
Vista Blue.
Yeah, and performance white stripes painted on. Very
nice. Yeah, it looks absolutely outstanding. And what's the weight on this car, do you think?
It's about 3750, I think. 3750. Give or take, somewhere right in there. Of course, the supercharger and the intercooler loop adds some weight, and they're not super light.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, I think the power makes up for the weight for sure. And the Shelby wheels on this car?
Yeah, they're 20s, 20 by 9s on the front, 20 by 10s on the rear.
Nice.
And with this horsepower level, I run drag radials on the back. Just to keep it planted.
Just to keep it planted. And what tires are you running on this then?
These are 555s Rs on the rear and 555s on the front.
Nice. So have you always been a Mustang or a Ford guy? Like, why this car?
Well, in the mid 70s, I had a summer job in Edmonton working in a warehouse, and the young guy next door, he was about 30 years old at the time, had a 69 fastback with a 351 and a huge cam in it. He'd done a bunch of motor work, and so I rode to work with him every day for the summer and just fell in love with that car and the Mustang in general. And, you know, I really remember the lumpy cam, and, you know, it was just a super cool car.
Yeah.
When the 05s came out, you know, with the retro look, I knew I had to have one. By that time, you know, I'd had a good career. My kids were getting older, could afford to get back into a car hobby, and like I said, I was on a trip to Seattle, saw this, and just had to jump in.
Were you transparent with your wife on how much money you've spent on this car?
No,
Taking a couple zeros off?
We definitely do not have, do have a, you know, don't ask, don't tell kind of policy. So.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Well, I know what you mean with the Mustang, because full disclosure, I did not like Mustangs when I first got back into it. And I had a Dodge Challenger, which I loved. But, you know, somehow I got pulled into the Mustang world with my GT500. Now my current Shelby GT350, and now there's something special about these cars. They're just so fun to drive, and they look absolutely amazing.
Yeah, what I like about the Mustang platform is that, you know, you can heavily modify them. They're a basic car as a GT, and you can really go to town on them. And I like the building process.
Yes, you do. Yeah.
Ordering the parts, buying the parts. putting them on the car. I do all the work myself, and you know, that's part of it that I enjoy. I like driving too, but I favor the build side of the hobby.
Yeah, yeah, and you're a big believer in modification of cars.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
That's very cool. Yeah, I wish I had the time, money, knowledge, resources to do that, but for now, I'm just a driver.
Yeah.
But this is one hell of a car. Well, with that, I think we should take this outside and get some better shots.
Perfect.
Pulls pretty good.
Yeah.
So, Kevin, would you have done anything different with this car?
Oh, I wonder about the cams from time to time. I put a very big cam in the car, and driving it in traffic is a bit of an adventure at times.
Yeah.
I really like the sound of the cam, especially at idle.
Yeah, like lumpy sound. Yeah.
And, you know, it was the cam in that 69 that really kind of hooked me.
Yeah.
So, you know, I like the sound of the cam, but it does make the car a little bit more difficult to drive in traffic.
In traffic.
Stop and go especially. It's a little hard on the clutch.
Yeah. Well, it rides really smooth. Suspension-wise, what did you do suspension-wise?
It's lowered all the way around. I've got Takiko adjustable shocks in it. Built the rear end, obviously, diff cover. You know, pretty much the standard Mustang mods.
Yeah.
Lowering it with the 20-inch wheels makes the ride a little choppier.
Yeah, yeah. But it feels pretty good though. Like it doesn't feel any
it's a
rougher
comfortable
than-
car to drive.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I don't know, I like the way it feels a little tighter like that, you know? So what advice would you give anyone about to take on a project such as you did here?
Cost it out as carefully as you can, and then double the cost and add about 20 grand.
Get another job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's really cool though, because you built something that you truly had all the thought process behind the design, everything on it, and I respect that very much.
You know, when I built this car, there wasn't a GT500 at the time, so I built in my mind sort of what I thought a GT500 should be. Yeah. And you know, then a couple of years later, obviously, the car came along. You know, your 2013, 2014 GT500 is kind of what I had in mind when I built this in 2008.
Yeah.
So,
well, it turned out just fantastic. Could you see yourself parting with this car, or is this staying with you?
I think it's staying with me for now, but I guess you never say never. Like you said, I like the building process.
Yeah.
And that part of this car is done. There's not much that can be...
Not much left to do.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, this burns a lot of fuel if I'm on it.
If you're on it, yeah. But if you're not, it's probably quite good.
Nice to have big brakes when you need them.